Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hi.
Hi. All right, today we are in the Old Testament.
What?
I know, crazy.
Essentially, at least a year.
We are in Unit 4. Can someone tell me what Unit 1 was?
The law, which is the Pentateuch.
Yeah, the law. What was Unit 2?
History?
History. Nice. What was Unit 3?
Wisdom literature.
What?
Wisdom literature.
Wisdom literature. And what is Unit 4?
Major prophets.
Major prophets. What is Unit 5?
Minor
Minor prophets. What is Unit 6?
Gospel.
Yeah. The New Testament. There's only 5 sections in the Old Testament. Then we'll get into New Testament starting with the Gospels at some point in the future. Okay? So we are in the second book of major prophets. It is Jeremiah. Okay? And today is lesson 1. We're starting that today. And we're looking at the broken covenant. Okay? You will probably notice some recurring themes as we continue through prophecy. That is not because it's boring and, we've already heard this before. It is because you've already heard this before. This is nothing new. Come on, guys. Right? Sorry. Not you. There is nothing new under the sun. The Lord sends a prophet to a group of people for the same reasons as he sends a prophet to another group of people, and that reason is they don't listen. And that's why there has to be, 4 major prophets and 12 minor prophets? Because the people don't listen. Come on, guys. So, you will definitely notice some recurring things, okay? We've gone through one book of prophecy, pretty much covered all of the different topics that we can talk about in prophecy, right? The people sin specifically with idolatry and not worshiping God. Punishment is coming, but restoration is also coming, and so is the Messiah. That's pretty much the extent of the prophetic books. They just say it in different ways and with different object lessons and different wording. But that's the big picture of the books of prophecy. Okay? So we'll try and make it a little unique for each one so that we're not just doing the same lesson every week for the next 4 months. Okay? All right. Can I get a volunteer to open us in prayer? Katie, go ahead.
Dear Lord, thank you we come together today to learn about you. I pray that we can all pay attention and learn a lot from Jeremiah, and that the sermon goes well and we can learn a lot there. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So like I said, we're in Jeremiah. Here's the breakdown of how we're going to be dividing that. Like I said, pretty familiar themes. The broken covenant, point of no return. In other words, like, it is happening. There's nothing you can do about it. We'll see that the prophet is rejected. The people say, whatever, we're not going to listen to you. And we will see that there is ruin, but there is hope found in the ruins. And the book ends with the judgment being fulfilled, but there's a glimmer of hope. Okay? We've seen things like this throughout Kings and Chronicles and Isaiah It's all part of the same story happening at the same time. We just get a different perspective each time, okay? And that is very beneficial, okay? And then after Jeremiah, we have a book that is 5 chapters, and it ties right in. It's technically more wisdom literature than prophecy. The style of the writing fits with wisdom literature. The content fits with prophecy, and so they put it more based on content than style, and that's okay. But we're going in canonical order, which is mostly grouped together by theme, but then sometimes there's like an extra wisdom literature book halfway through the major prophets, and that's fine. That's just how it is. But Lamentations is tied to the book of Jeremiah and the things that are happening there, and so that's how we're going to do it. Okay. All right. How did the reading go for everybody? Chapters 1 through 12. You heard something? Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I would encourage you guys to be reading something out of the assigned chapters, even if you can't like sit down and read chapter 1, all the verses, chapter 2, all the verses. That's okay. You can kind of skim through and at least like read the headings, and if something jumps out at you, read a couple verses in that section. You know, that's perfectly fine as well. And there's absolutely no shame in needing to have it in audio form and having someone else read it to you. If I try to sit down and read some of these chapters, I get a couple verses into it and my brain's like, I learned nothing. I kept nothing out of that. But if I listen while I read, I'm like, oh, right, someone who knows how to read makes it a lot easier for me to understand how that flows together, because I try and break it up differently. And this guy who's like a professional reader can read it and make it make sense.
Relatable.
So there's nothing wrong with that, okay?
No.
Absolutely not.
That is, if that's what it takes for you to understand just the flow of a single sentence, that's okay. All right, that's perfectly okay. If it's okay for me to have to do that, it's okay for you to have to do that. All right, you guys ready to get into it?
Yep.
Okay. So let's look at Jeremiah 1 through 12. Let's have our Bibles and our notebooks open. All right.
No, wait. This way.
All right, and before we actually get into like, the meat of these chapters, I want to give you guys a bit of a timeline, okay? Just so that you know where this book fits, okay? I would like somebody to read chapter 1,
If I can get there.
verses 1 through 3. It's that first paragraph. And I want you to read that, and I'm going to stop you at a couple different points, okay?
The words of Jeremiah, the son of Hilkiah,
Be confident.
one of the priests who were in Anathoth in the land of Benjamin, to whom the word of the Lord came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon.
All right,
king
pause
of
there.
Judah.
All right. Does everybody remember King Josiah, the king of Judah?
Not really.
Sounds
From
familiar.
A little
like
bit.
way back in history time.
You sound familiar.
Okay.
Wasn't it one of the better kings?
What was he, 8 when he became king?
All right. So King Josiah. Okay. Need everybody's attention. Okay. This first paragraph is telling us exactly when Jeremiah was active as a prophet, when the words of the Lord were coming to him. Okay? So it says, in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, the king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. That happens in 2 Kings chapter 22-ish and 2 Chronicles chapter 34-ish. Okay, remember, Kings and Chronicles tell the same story just from a different perspective. Okay? So in these chapters is when King Josiah was reigning. And Jeremiah is mentioned in 2 Chronicles 35:25 by name. Okay, so like, if there's any doubt, he is mentioned by name as the prophet during that time. Okay? Titus, continue reading where you left off.
In the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. It came also in the days of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, until the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah,
All right,
king of
pause there. So, King Jehoiakim is 2 Kings 24 and 2 Chronicles 36. Okay, so if you're curious of when Jeremiah is doing his prophecy, it's during King Josiah in these chapters. It is during King Jehoiakim during these chapters. Titus, pick up right after Jehoiakim.
King of Judah until the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, the son of Josiah, king of Judah.
Pause there. That is mentioned in 2 Kings 24 and 25, 2 Chronicles 36, verse 12 of 2 Chronicles 36 mentions Jeremiah by name again. Okay? He's only mentioned by name in 2 Chronicles. Interesting. Is what it is. Different perspectives, different details. Okay? That doesn't mean he wasn't present during these events. They're the same events, just the chronicler included extra details. The chronicler. Alright? And Titus, go ahead and finish off that paragraph.
King of Judah until the captivity of Jerusalem in the 5th month.
Okay. The captivity of Jerusalem is found in 2 Kings 25 and 2 Chronicles 36. And again, in 36:21, Jeremiah is mentioned by name. Okay, so the 3 times, one of them, I'm probably going to get this in the wrong order, but one of them was like, Jeremiah was the prophet during this king. One of them is, the king and the people did not listen to Jeremiah the prophet. And then the third time was, Jerusalem was taken into captivity for 70 years, just like the prophet Jeremiah said would happen. Okay, so 3 times he was mentioned as being the prophet and having been the prophet, and the things happened just like he said they would. Okay, so that is where we are, the context of history and where Jeremiah is. Are there any questions about that? Is that pretty clear? Like, prophecy books fit into history books, right? Remember when we finished up with the history section, we said all the rest of the Old Testament, all the wisdom and prophecy books, happen inside the history section, right? Do you remember that I said that?
Yep.
Okay. Jeremiah happens within 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles, towards the end of both of those books. Okay? Okay. Now that you know where we are, there is still a temple, there is still a Jerusalem, there is still people living in Jerusalem worshiping at the temple. Okay? So we keep kind of going forward and then having to go backwards, and then going forward and having to go backwards. So we've gone back to Jerusalem is still a thing. Temple worship is still a thing that is happening. All right? So we have 5 questions that we're going to look at as we go through these first 12 chapters of Jeremiah. And we're going to be looking at these 5 questions throughout the whole book of Jeremiah. So as you're reading these next few weeks, think of these questions. So I would encourage you all to write these questions down right now. Okay? The first question We're not even going to necessarily talk about these questions in order, but the first one on the board is, what is God saying? So these books are prophecy, words from God. Okay, what is it that God is saying in this word to the prophet? Okay, so go ahead and write down, what is God saying? Next is, what are the people doing? So this can be, what are they doing that caused God to send this word? This can be, the word has been sent to them, what is their response? Okay, what are the people doing? These questions will be up the entire time, so, yeah, don't worry about going fast enough. Next is, what is Jeremiah the prophet experiencing? Okay, like we said on Thursday, the book of Jeremiah is an emotional book. It's not like separated emotionally from what's happening. We get glimpses into Jeremiah's personal response, where like God says something, the people do something, and Jeremiah has a reaction to that and writes that down as part of the prophecy. If you remember the part of the video that worked on Thursday, the book of Jeremiah was compiled much later than the beginning of the book. It's like, I think in chapter 36 or so, Jeremiah is told to compile all of these prophecies and sermons, and he has a friend of his, or a servant or something, another person help him compile and like be a historian and take these things that have happened from his life and put them together into what we have as the book of Jeremiah. And so you get like, here's a bit of narrative, like some story, here's a prophecy, here's like a personal journal entry from Jeremiah. You get all of these things put together. Sometimes they're a little out of order, and we can identify that as it happens. But you have different styles of writing within the book. So we are given personal diary entries from Jeremiah of what he's experiencing. Okay? The next thing that we're going to look at that we should be familiar with from Isaiah is the tensions, right? The tug of war. What tensions are pulling one way and another. Okay? And then the last thing that can maybe be more of a think about it than answer it out loud if you don't feel like it, is how would you respond? Okay? Particularly if you were the prophet Jeremiah, called by God to go to the people, and this is how the people are responding to you, how would you feel? Okay? Especially when we get to like, when the people reject him, how would you feel? What would you do in that case?
I tried.
Sucks to be you.
We may or may not do what Jeremiah does. Okay? So, these are things to be thinking about. We can answer some of them, we can answer all of them. Right? As we go through each chapter and each section, there might be an answer, there might not be an answer. That's just the nature of these kinds of questions. Okay? Alrighty, let's get into the first section here. So we have chapters 1 through 3, which I've titled The Call and the Broken Relationship. Okay? So, let's answer some of these questions. Who wants to answer a question? What question and where do you see the answer? In chapters 1 through 3.
Bruh.
What does God say, 2 verse 9, therefore I still continue to declare the Lord, and your children's children are content. So like, he's saying that because they've forgotten about him and worshipped other idols, other fake gods, that he will contend, fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing to have a God who fights. As long as you're on the side of
Yeah.
the all-powerful God who fights, and he fights for you. But here, the people have betrayed him, and he's saying, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight you. Yeah, this is not a great thing. Yeah. Okay. Chapter 1 starts with the call of Jeremiah, so like that's what God is saying is like, you, Mr. Jeremiah, are going to be my mouthpiece. You're going to speak for me to the people. And like, so what Jeremiah is experiencing is God talking to him and telling him like God's going to use him. And Jeremiah, his response was like, I'm just a kid. Like, we don't know exactly how old Jeremiah was at this time, but he said, I don't know how to speak, for I am only a youth. Like, he's young, at least compared to some of the other religious leaders, the people that he would be sending these messages to. He was young, he was inexperienced, and God says, don't say that you're only a youth. This is in chapter 1, verse 7. Don't say I am only a youth, for to all whom I send you to, you shall go, and whatever I command, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares the Lord. There's a bunch of times that it says, declares the Lord. And I think that's cool. It's not just like indicating who's speaking. Like, yeah, it is. It helps us read to know, oh, that's God saying that. But he's not just saying something, he's declaring it. What's the difference between saying something and declaring?
Saying something, you feel like letting all the people, if you're declaring it, it's like to a lot of people.
Okay, yeah. You can be saying something to a lot of people. Yeah.
Sort of like the difference between asking and demanding,
Kind of, yeah.
like making a much stronger statement.
Yeah. If you declare something, go ahead.
Saying it with like passion in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of the force behind it.
Yeah.
Where like, I can just say like, yeah, we have chips and snacks and stuff over here.
Chips.
Maybe not chips. We have snacks. Or I can say, get you some snacks. I'm making a declaration. There are snacks, they are for you. Get you some snacks. Right? It's the authority behind saying something. And so the fact that it says, declares the Lord, he's not just offhandedly like, oh yeah, by the way, I'll be with you. He's like, I will be with you as you go to these people. Don't be afraid. Not just like, don't worry about it. Don't be afraid as I am with you. Okay, so anything that the Lord declares is like extra emphasis there. Okay?
There's an interesting parallel, I feel like, to Isaiah and Jeremiah, that they're calling kind of similar stories. Where Isaiah is like, I'm a man of unclean lips among a people of unclean lips. And Jeremiah says, I don't know how to speak, for I'm a youth. And then with Isaiah, there's an angel that's got a coal that touches his lips to purify his lips. And then with Jeremiah, God reaches his hand out and touches his mouth. So kind of interesting. They're similar and different in ways.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Touches his mouth. I like that parallel between you know, touching the lips with a coal to be cleansed, touching the mouth to like, this mouth is going to speak for God.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And God gives Jeremiah the task. Where's that? In verse 10. Behold, I have set my words in your mouth. I have set you this day over nations and over kingdoms, to pluck up and to break down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. So it's not just that Jeremiah is going to go in and like kick booty and say everything's bad, everything's going to be destroyed.
It sounds like a metal song.
Yeah, but he's also going in to build and to plant. Like he's going in with hope as well. It's just that there's 3 lines and 2 of them are destructive lines and 1 of them is constructive. And that's about how it goes. Yeah. Okay? How would you respond if God came and touched your mouth and said, "You're going to speak for me"? Would you be like, "Oh yeah, let's do this"? Or would you be like, "Me?
Yeah.
No. You're silly."
Second one.
Or maybe a third option. I don't know.
I probably wouldn't say, "You're silly!" I would say something like, I'm good. I'm good. Find someone else.
I'm good. Yeah. How about someone else? Yeah. Like Moses,
Yeah.
I mean,
right? That's how Moses responded.
oh,
When God said, "You're gonna be the one to talk to Pharaoh," and Moses was like, "Me?
I left that place.
I'm not good at talking.
I have a
How about my brother?" And God's like, "No, you."
Did I just those others?
Am I the one who's supposed to stutter? No. Right?
I think we just answered the what is Jeremiah experiencing in this beginning part.
Yeah.
He's terrified, he feels unqualified, he doesn't feel ready. And we're just in chapter 1.
Yeah.
We've got 50 more chapters to go.
Yay!
Clearly, despite that fear, Jeremiah goes and does.
Very true. I think it is encouraging to point out the other people who were called by God in similar ways. Isaiah, successful prophet. Moses, successful prophet. Samuel also had a calling kind of similar to this. Successful prophet. And by successful, of course, I mean the people hated him and he struggled through his whole life. And the same is for each of those. Just because they're successful prophets does not mean that they are
easy.
accepted by the people, doesn't mean that it was easy.
Successful prophets is not successful people in a lot of ways. Well, that is
Different?
if you fear people, not God.
Yeah, different definitions of success. Yeah. So, Jeremiah was in good company, I think is what I'm trying to say. In the same boat as Isaiah and Moses and Samuel and many others. Anyone that the Lord calls, He is going to equip, but they're going to struggle. Okay. And then, as Lucy pointed out, Jeremiah gets the first word from the Lord that he's supposed to give, and his introduction is not a pleasant one. It's not like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm Jeremiah. I'm going to be your prophet for the next several years."
This is my vlog.
This is my vlog. Yeah, like and follow. It is interesting. The first paragraph of his first message is saying, "The Lord remembers how devoted you were back in the day." And that was really great for those first 2 seconds that you were devoted to him. And then you turned your back on him, you abandoned him. Is this where he says that you whored after other gods, or is that a different one?
3, 6,
Yeah.
whatever.
Your shepherds, your leaders have transgressed against God. I think it's cool in the English, at least in my translation, it says the prophets prophesied by Baal and went after things that do not profit. The prophets did not profit. I think that's kind of cool, and that's in chapter 2, verse 8. It's in English, so of course in Hebrew, completely different words. It didn't have that. But in our English words, it's cool because you have two different words that both sound the same. Prophet and prophet. And it's a kind of a play on words in the English at least. So I think that's kind of cool that God uses different languages and different translations to still speak in ways that have meaning, right? Showing that false prophets have no profit. They have no value. They're not gaining anything. Okay? God says, this is chapter 2, verse 27 and 28. In their times of trouble, the people say, "Arise and save us." But where are your gods that you made yourself? Let them arise if they can save you in your times of trouble.
Did you say that in Isaiah?
Yeah,
I think
he
he said that in
sounds
Isaiah.
familiar.
It does, yeah. We're definitely talking about the futility of idolatry that we've been talking about in Isaiah, right? Like, God is saying, "Oh, you made other gods, let them save you." Why not? If they're so big and powerful, if you made them so powerful and you imbued them with all of the power to save you, why not call to them and have them save you? I think in Isaiah he said, just like I carried you out of Egypt, you will carry your idols out of the land, or something. It was something like that. Like showing that God is the one that can carry you, and your gods, you have to carry them.
Well, wasn't it also Isaiah that he's like, it's so you're creating these things, and then you're saying that they created you.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid.
Yeah, it's the word. It's the yeah. And then chapter 3 is where the Lord says, "You've polluted the land with your vile whoredom." You have become someone who is unfaithful and who sells themselves out, and that is bad. Okay. All right. Do we have any other answers to these questions in these first 3 chapters?
Never mind.
Okay. Chapters 4 through 6, we get warnings of judgment. Okay. Most notably, that we'll see like throughout the book, God says that there's going to be an enemy that comes from the north to destroy Jerusalem. And then keep referencing that enemy from the north, disaster from the north. When we look at a map, we get a little confused knowing that Babylon is coming, and like you have Israel is over here and Babylon is over here. Is that north? What direction is this and this?
West.
East and west. But when you look at a map, I'll just visualize the map. You have Israel over here. You have a river, the Jordan River, right here. In order to get from Babylon to Israel, you have to either cross the Jordan River And that's not something that's easy to do unless God parts the water for you.
Why?
Or you have to go south through a desert, and that's not easy to do. Or you have to go around and come down from the north, which is how most people would get there, from Babylon to Israel. You would come from the north. That's why there's disaster coming from the north. Not that the country is located north of Israel, but the invading army has to come down from the north. Okay? Either way they come, disaster is coming. And we keep coming back to that all throughout the book of Jeremiah, that disaster is coming. And it's the same disaster that's coming. Okay?
I think there's a tension though.
Okay.
I see it at least in 4:27. I don't remember where else it was, but it says, "For thus says the Lord, the whole land shall be a desolation, yet I will not make a full end." And I remember there's at least one other chapter in this section that we read this week that says the same thing. Like, yeah, war, judgment, destruction, all of this awful, evil stuff is happening, but he still sprinkles in that promise of back from like Abraham, that he will still make Israel a great nation. They will be raised up. They will be redeemed. But they also got to go through all the consequences first.
Towards the beginning of chapter 4, the Lord says that these people who have been, worshiping other gods and have basically made themselves non-Jewish in their beliefs and their practices, they need to circumcise themselves. And then he says, in your heart, right? Because as Jews, they would have been physically circumcised. You remember back in the time of Abraham, that was established as a physical sign of the covenant between God and Abraham. So they would have gone through that physical operation. But now he's saying, you need to go through that in a spiritual level. You need to cut away the part of your heart that makes you reject me, that makes you not my people, and you need to throw that away so that your heart is exposed to God. Okay? It's one of those brutal imagery, but their heart, the bad part of their heart needs to be cut away, and their heart needs to be fresh. Okay? And the Apostle Paul uses that imagery, I believe, in Romans as well, because at his time there were people. At that point, you had the Jewish Christians and the non-Jewish Christians who were arguing about which one of us are the people of God. And he was like, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish and have the physical sign of the covenant, or if you're not Jewish, it's your heart that needs to be circumcised, not your flesh. Right? It's the spiritual bad stuff that needs to be cut away. Doesn't matter what surgery you had when you were a baby. Okay? Again, brutal imagery, but that's what it takes to shock you into understanding a concept. Okay. Do you think the people responded well to that?
No.
Probably not.
They're probably like, what if we don't want to do that?
Yeah. Some of them, I'm sure, were like, open heart surgery, and how does that work? Circumcise my heart?
chapter 5, I wrote in my Bible, bold, but they're dumb. Verse 12 says, they have spoken falsely of the Lord, and they have said, he will do nothing. No disaster will come on us, nor shall we see sword or famine. The prophets will become a wind, and their word is not in them. Thus it shall be done to them instead. They reject.
This sounds like fighting words. Yeah, God's not gonna do anything to us.
We're fine.
Narrator speaks, they were not fine.
2 words. They're toast.
They're toast, okay.
I found a parallel in the beginning of chapter 5 in verse 1. It says, run to and fro through the streets of Jerusalem. Look and take note. Search her squares to see if you can find a man, one who does justice and seeks truth, that I may pardon her. And that reminded me of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yep.
Of God being like, hey, look, if I can find I think it was 100 righteous men in these cities, we'll spare them. How about 50? Okay, yeah, sure. If I can find 50 righteous men. How about like 10? Okay, if I can find 10 righteous men, I'll spare this. Oh, like 1. And like, no.
It was odd. Those for you.
Yeah, and like we're repeated here. If you can find one righteous person in God's holy city, Jerusalem, then maybe we'll spare the disaster. Run through the streets, take note, find one person worth saving this city. And we know that the city was destroyed anyway. If that tells you how wicked they had become. They had become no different than Sodom and Gomorrah. Are we any different?
I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, if we had a leader, like just take the United States, if we had a leader or somebody make a public, say some of this stuff, we'd probably react about the same way most of the country would react.
Yeah, if there was a preacher that said, America's doomed and we're going to be destroyed, we'd be like, yeah, whatever.
We'll be fine.
The general consensus would be, yeah, we'll be fine. We're arrogant enough.
There would be a very small portion of people. Please God help us.
I think we would recognize this. I would hope. Okay.
Also, if there was like a preacher or something that said that, how many people would call him crazy? Like, the Israelites just got Jeremiah was just another crazy person.
And this even more so than your example of America, because hopefully at least everybody in this room understands we as Americans are not God's chosen people.
Nope.
Despite what some religious and political leaders will tell you, America is not the nation of God. However, Israel fully believed that they were God's chosen people because they could track not even just their religious heritage, but their physical heritage. Like their DNA tracked back to God's chosen people. And they fully believed that there was nothing that they could do to make God punish them and reject them. So they had even more arrogance than America, because at least a good number of Americans understand that we are not God's chosen people as America. America. But these people, they thought they were invincible. And so yeah, having a preacher show up saying, hey, God has rejected you because you've rejected him. No. You're crazy. That's not how that works. There's a covenant. that we've broken. There's a covenant, though. God's not going to reject us. Which God are we talking about again?
Remember all the if-then statements in
Mm-hmm.
Deuteronomy and
If
Leviticus
yeah.
and all of those? If you do this, then I will. If you do this, then I will. Did we do those ifs?
No.
No.
Well, we did the ifs of if you reject me, then I
Then I
will.
will.
We did some of it.
We did those ifs.
Only the bad ones. Only the ones where the then is the land being stripped away and us being we don't read
That's
all
the
of
start
it.
of chapter 7.
So speaking of all of that, chapters 7 through 12, we have more false religion and more conflict, just getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
5 through 7 is an if then.
Yeah, I was just gonna read 5 through 7 is maybe the last chance. We'll see next week. But chapter 7, verses 5 through 7 says, "For if you truly amend your ways and your deeds, if you truly execute justice one with another, if you do not oppress the sojourner or the traveler, if you do not oppress the fatherless or the widow, or shed innocent blood in this place, and if you do not go after other gods in your own harm, then I will let you dwell in this place, in the land that I gave of old to your fathers forever." So it's one more of these if-then statements. What do you think the people's reaction was? Do you think they did the ifs? Do you think that God could do the then?
Well, he can,
He can, but
What?
he can't because it would make him a liar. Because they didn't do the ifs, so he can't do the then.
Verse 26. Yet they did not listen to me or incline their ear, but stiffened their neck. They did worse than their fathers.
And that is embedded in a sermon that Jeremiah gives at the temple. He stood on the front doors of the church and started preaching to people as they were coming in to do their worship, saying, "You come here saying, this is the temple of the Lord, this is the temple of the Lord, this is the temple of the Lord. And yet, you're not actually worshiping God. You believe that this temple cannot be destroyed because it's the temple of the Lord. But you come here to worship on Sundays, you drop off your lamb for the sacrifice, and then you leave, and by Monday morning, you're sleeping with the enemy. You are worshiping false gods. You are even, at the end of that chapter, going to the valley of slaughter to sacrifice your children in the fire of false gods. And one day, that valley where you sacrifice your children will be a mass grave for all of you. That's brutal. To be standing right outside the temple, at the temple, to say, this temple is not going to save you when you are an abomination to God. Going to church does not save you. When you walk out of this church and your heart changes back into whatever your heart wants. That is not worship. And that's what chapter 7, going into 8, says. Going to church does not make you the people of God. But going into the valley of slaughter is going to make you dead. Do you think the people loved that message from Jeremiah?
Totally.
Probably their favorite.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't sacrifice my
They probably like called the cops on him.
Sunday school memory
There's
verse.
a crazy guy outside the church preaching about killing our children and something about mass murder. Alright. What?
I call cops.
Yeah, what would you do? How would you respond if there was a crazy guy outside the church preaching something like that?
He's just calling other people out for sacrificing their children. I was like,
Yeah, he's calling other people out. I like that. That's not me. I don't even have children. I don't even have any more children. It's not me. Or I haven't done that yet. It's next week's project. Gotta wait for my kid to be born before I can throw him on the altar. Come on, guys.
Not in today's world.
that people don't like convictions.
People say
Yeah.
not murder, they're not
What?
Half of chapter 8 is like a journal entry from Jeremiah, starting in verse 18. It switches from declares the Lord to Jeremiah. Just I can see him like listening to super sad like emotional music or like the like heavy metal like everything's wrong and just scribbling like my joy is gone, my grief is upon me, my heart is sick within me.
Nothing is good anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there not anything that can fix this? Right?
And that was a good one.
And going into 9 continues that. Until the Lord says that wisdom comes from understanding and knowing God.
That sounds familiar.
That is nothing new to us who have just gone through wisdom literature. God being the source of wisdom. Chapter 10 contrasts what we've seen already in Isaiah, contrasts idols and the living God. And so it goes through, there's a few verses talking about idols, and a couple verses talking about the living God, and a few verses about idols, and a few verses about the living God. And it bounces back and forth like that. And just showing like idols are dumb. God is so much better. Idols are dumb. God is so much better. And it just does that for like half of that chapter.
They don't like stay in one place. They don't feel.
Verse 14, talking about idolatry. Every man is stupid and without knowledge. Every goldsmith is put to shame by his idols. For his images are false, and there is no breath in them. They are worthless, a work of delusion.
That's bold.
And the time of their punishment, they shall perish.
It's true though.
Not like these is he who is the portion of Jacob, for he is the one who formed all things, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. So contrasting the stupidity of making an idol yourself, being delusional, thinking that that's your God, versus the one who created and sustained you and founded your nation under the promise of an inheritance, the one who is in control of everything. It ends in chapter 12 with another promise of desolation. Does everybody here know what desolation means? It means like a wasteland where there's nothing can grow. Okay. Chapter 12, starting in verse 9, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 uses of either the word desolate or desolation, or something that has to do with nothing being able to grow. It's like wilderness, a devourer, no flesh has peace, there's thorns, there's shame, there's nothing. In this context, wilderness would be like a desert where nothing can grow. Yeah. And it's like at least 15 times just in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verses. Okay. And that is all talking about Jerusalem. About this thriving city of God, and it is going to be turned into a wasteland. There's going to be an apocalypse, and nothing will be left. The end. Yeah. Next week, Jeremiah will do some object lessons. So hopefully that'll make it a little more concrete, being able to see something. But the message doesn't change, and hasn't. I think we can all read these words, and though there may not be an enemy coming from the north, the people doing wrong and bowing down to idols and being unfaithful to God, that part is still applicable today. And the foolishness of idolatry is still something that we all struggle with. We don't necessarily make our idols out of gold and carve them to look like a person, but we still have idols. Right? An idol is anything that takes worship that is intended for God. That can be literally anything other than God. So, how about this for homework this week? Identify an idol in your life. Okay, so that's going to be some heart work for you. Okay, do some open heart surgery on yourself. Identify the things that are taking the place of God, that are taking His worship, your worship that's intended for Him. And I'm not asking you to solve every problem that you have, but identify something. It starts with identifying it. And maybe by next Sunday, share that with one other person. Okay? Identify, acknowledge that you have that problem. Okay? Think we can do that? Okay, it's a big homework assignment for you. Okay. Dear Lord, thank you so much for being forgiving. Thank you that even though we are unfaithful, you are faithful and you love us. And that we no longer have the if-then condition of if we are faithful, then you are faithful. But the condition is that if we acknowledge that Jesus Christ is our Savior, then no matter what comes, we are secure in you. It's not about what we have to do or anything that we have to maintain, but you made the perfect sacrifice, and it's a free gift that we can have eternal salvation no matter what we do to mess up. Thank you for loving us so much that you sent your Son, the perfect, spotless Lamb, to take away our sins and to give us a future and a hope. It's in His name that I pray. Amen.